Now, hello everyone, welcome back to the channel G-Man Aviation. Now in today's video, we are back in the flight simulator today. I'm going to be checking out this kind of newish idea here, which is kind of like VATSIM, and you guys might have seen this in other videos. Now this is of course the Sayintentions.ai. Now this is kind of like VATSIM. If you guys, I haven't really covered it on this channel, but I've done it before. So VATSIM is where you are in a flight simulator and you have realistic activities in the airport and radio calls where you are talking to a tower, which is another person, and they're all different people doing flights. Now, this is basically that, but instead of talking to people, you're talking to an AI. Now, of course, this is a different way of kind of doing things. Definitely if you're more nervous for doing it with real people or doing it with in more high-stakes situations. Now, like, this won't really, like, yell at you or tell you that you did something wrong or messed something up, and you're not really affecting anything or any operations by doing something like that. Now, this is a paid premium model of Sayintentions. That's really the only way to do this. They do have a 24-hour test if you'd like to try it out for yourself. But we'll be taking a look at it here in today's video. Now, we'll be doing a few things. Now, in Sayintentions.ai, you can, of course, do VFR flying as well as, of course, IFR flying. Now, in today's video, we're mostly going to focus on IFR flying, is because that's kind of a little easier to do. What I will say, because I have tested it, you can do IFR or VFR flying on Sayintentions, or IFR flying on Sayintentions with SimBrief. Now, that's how you do it. You connect your SimBrief, make a flight plan through SimBrief, and then you just connect it there, and they will know your flight plan. Now, that's all pretty straightforward, and they tell you a lot of things. That's one of the positives here with Sayintentions, is that it is pretty nice to be able to see these different things and actually, like, they teach you a lot and show you. It's really a nice interface. Now, a few ways to see Sayintentions. You can go to the app running on your computer here. Also, it has a plugin in the Microsoft Flight Simulator 24 here that is basically that same web app I just showed you, as well as actually in the EFB from Microsoft Flight Simulator. There it is again. So you can get the same app in 3 different places, which is pretty nice. Now, obviously, we're going to go over here to some delivery here, or I guess some clearance. We're going to go clearance on 121.6. Now, this is where we get a little more like VATSIM. We use the plane's internal radio to get a actual signal on Sayintentions like we would in VATSIM. So now we'll go to 121.6, which is Chicago Center. Now, our call sign today is going to be Spirit Wings 2120, and we'll just hear what we can see from there. Chicago clearance, Spirit Wings 2120, request a VFR departure straight out. Now, it does take a little bit of a second to respond. Obviously, it is an AI processing your response, figuring out what you are doing.
Spirit Wings 2120, cleared out of the Chicago Class B airspace. Maintain VFR. Departure on 126.625. Squawk 2141. Expect runway 28 right.
So now this is the other nice thing, is because now you can see it, you can pretty easily read back if you need practice on that. So now I can just say, Spirit Wings 2120, clear through the Bravo airspace, maintaining VFR. Gone over to departure 26.625, squawk 2141 for Spirit Wings 2120. Now that's all we'd need to do there, and we'd obviously change our squawk code to 2141, which it is now set.
Spirit Wings 2120.
Now he'll respond with the
ground on
readback correct.
124.125 when ready.
So now we want to go to 124.125. Now this will be our ground, so we can call up for taxi. And we'll be going 124.125 on over to ground 124.125 for Spirit Wings 2120. So like even there where I kind of messed up my voice there a second, you're not affecting anyone. You're not slowing things down in airport operation. So we did just switch over. So we should now be on ground, 124, 125. Yep. So now we'll go over to ground. Chicago ground, Spirit Wings 2120 requesting taxi to the active departure for VFR straight out. Oh, I messed up the radio call there. 124.125. Yeah, so 124.125. So we need to change that there. So it will tell you if someone is not listening, which means that there is no one on that frequency. So let's try that again. Chicago ground, Spirit Wings 2120 requesting taxis to this active straight out departure VFR. Now this time they should respond.
Spirit Wings 2120, you can't do that until you pick up your IFR clearance. You can change
now this is one thing that it does do, which I've found in this issue. Now obviously we do have some other traffic. This is all still AI stuff. But one problem I've seen with this is kind of, if you're trying to do VFR at a bigger airport, it asks for IFR. Now, it does say that you can turn this off in the pilot portal, but I have not done that. So that is pretty kind of annoying because you can't really get off the ground here for an IFR clearance because of your plane. Now, obviously, we could do a smaller plane, which I have done before. And, but really, in this video, we're not really going to do much flying. Obviously, that's kind of weirdly against the point because isn't this ATC? But most ATC, people know what ATC is. I kind of want to highlight the features of Sayintentions.ai and see what we get. Now, obviously, you get the very nice portal. You also get the pilot portal. So if we go into the pilot portal here, you can see a lot of other things, a lot of kind of settings you can change, sky operations, you can connect it to GSX, you can do a lot of things in this system. So this is what you get just for being a subscriber to get, you get all of this once you just sign up for any of the things. Obviously it is paid, that's why it's a little bit more high quality. Now in this app it's pretty nice, it shows you what you basically need to do. You can do before takeoff, you can get a readback, request taxi. It basically does it in case you don't really know what you're doing, which is pretty nice. And you can like bring up things here like taxi path. It also has a built-in like flights tracker here where you can see your flights, the current flight things. So that's pretty cool. So it is very nice there. Also what you have is you do have an AI co-pilot and an AI flight attendant. Now let's try to talk to our co-pilot here. Hi, co-pilot. How are you doing today?
Runway 28 right taxi via taxi lane of Foxtrot West Alpha Alpha 13.
So that is just another button on my buttons. So obviously you can hear. I don't know if that co-pilot is the same one sitting next to us. Sounded a little not like a man, but we can definitely see there are two different buttons that I have here on my yoke. I have one that talks to ATC, and I have one that talks to the co-pilot, and I have another one over here that talks to the flight attendant or the cabin. So let's now talk to the cabin. Hello, flight attendants. How are we doing today?
Ready to push. United 467, push and start at your discretion. Well, Captain.
The cabin is calm and passengers are settled.
So that's pretty cool. You can also, like, so the co-pilot can actually do radio calls for you if you have to step away. They'll handle the radio. They can't really do much with the plane as what I've tested. I don't really see them doing anything. The flight attendants kind of add realism. They make announcements. They do service, and you can talk to them kind of what is happening in the flight, and they'll adjust their announcements to support that. Obviously, it knows where you're going, it knows where you're flying, kind of how it is, what gate you're going to. So it's pretty cool in that sense. So it is interesting in that sense that we can see all of that, and it's pretty cool to see this type of thing in a flight simulator. Obviously, adding the part we don't get to normally see, which is the cabin. Now, very cool that Sayintentions lets you do that, all just with the one subscription. Now, a few of the downsides or things that I found. Now, obviously, it is an AI, and it is kind of in the beta process, so there are still some bugs, and that's kind of what I'm going to highlight. Now, obviously, if you are into this and you really like it, I'm definitely not saying don't get it. It's definitely a very good like add-on if you do like the ATC simulations, if you've done VATSIM before, if you are into VATSIM or want to do other things like VATSIM, but you're too scared, I'd 100% suggest Sayintentions.ai. Some of the things that I've seen in the testing that I've done over the last few days, you can see there are a few times where it won't really give you the things you're asking for. Now, like this, you can't do that until you pick up your IFR clearance. Now, obviously, I told it that I was doing VFR. The O'Hare Airport was allowing VFR flight, but it wouldn't let me get any taxi because of not having an IFR. Now, I have gotten VFR to work on smaller planes and smaller airports. It works completely fine. But there's that some sort of weird thing where it doesn't work here. Obviously, it does tell you right there how to change it. So that's very nice of them to also show you that. Now, for the really actual bugs I've seen, now a lot of the problem that I've seen is coming actually from the way the game tracks your flights, and the point where Sayintentions does not know what stage of flight you're in. Now, I'll be taking off, and I've gotten takeoff clearance, and I'll then talk to my co-pilot, who then says, all right, let's get started. Let me get you some clearance, and then it tries to get clearance for takeoff when we're already in the air. I've had that happen on every single one of my flights I've done through Sayintentions. Now, it just kind of is like that, and it's kind of... Obviously, it is an AI, and it does make some mistakes. Now, and the other thing is then the tower will usually clear us for takeoff again, which is kind of weird. It kind of messes with realism there, kind of in its own sense, because it's just... Usually you wouldn't do that. Usually it wouldn't work, and the tower wouldn't respond to that. Now, it does definitely still have those little bits of issues. I also had that with the flight attendant, where I said, hey, we've landed, we're taxiing the gate. And then it went, okay, I'm making preparations for landing. And it's like, well, but we've already landed. Why are you making preparations for landing that we've already done 20 minutes ago? So that's just the things where it's just kind of nitpicky, I know, but it's stuff that does add to the realism. If you're really trying to do this for realism, there is a difference of kind of what you can do and where the system does limit. And again, I am taking into account that this is a beta. And it does definitely have potential in the future to get better. I do love the integration of Microsoft Flight Simulator apps. I love that you don't really need to leave your app to see stuff. It's very nice. But obviously, there are some limitations. Now, I do love that also SimBrief does connect, so you can just type in your thing, and it knows your IFR plan, and that's some good features. Now, I will say the other thing I did, so I did do 2 VFR flights and 1 IFR flight during my testing of this, and there were some different, ways that they do things. For VFR flying, it's pretty good. It held a flight following, and handled that very nicely. I tried to do some pattern work, and it was actually pretty boring because doing pattern work, it just cleared me for the option every time. So it's very nice that it does it. That's not really its fault. It's like that in real life as well, but it's just not as crazy, obviously, if you're not doing it at a busy airport. But it was able to do a flight following very nicely from one airport to the next. Very good. That was actually my best thing over compared to VFR, because VFR, I did fly actually this exact plane earlier, and I did the same flight, Spirit Wings 2120. Now, one feature of this, as you can see all of them spawn in, Sayintentions actually interjects traffic into your sim. Now, this is controllable from the app or the website, but you can see it interjects these traffic with liveries, which is nice. So you can see United, all this stuff, all these people taxiing here. And you can see it kind of adds a lot. And there is a slider that you can control, but just on the default settings here, it does feel like there's a lot of traffic at all times. And it's kind of interesting. So when I did my flight, I pushed back, and I had to taxi all the way down here, turn, and then go all the way back in a very, very long line. And then when I finally got up to the hold short line, I asked for takeoff clearance, and it said, I'm number 7 for departure. And I said, well, how can that be? Because I'm sitting at the runway right now. I'm the first one in line. And it then said, the same thing, I'm 7th for departure. And then finally it said, oh, you're clear for takeoff. So it's kind of one of those things, again, where AI sometimes sticks to its guns and then realizes that it was kind of wrong. So that is an interesting thing there, as well as the taxi instructions. I've been using ChartFox, of course, like I would during VATSIM, to know where the airport taxiways are. But every time I taxied from one place, even if it was a small airport or a big airport like O'Hare here, it would give me taxi instructions for taxiways that don't exist. I got Delta a lot, and also different other types of taxiways that just don't show up on any map. So I don't understand why it's kind of doing those. Maybe I have outdated maps, but I don't really feel like that could be a real reason. Now, obviously, it does seem like I've been saying a lot of negative things. I'm just really trying to show the truth of this mod, because it is expensive. It is paid mod. It's about $18 a month. But obviously, if you're into it, if you're into the stuff, it's good. And they do have annual plans and other types of things. But this is kind of my fair judging of it. And, like, I do love the integration of traffic. You can hear the other planes going and talking and doing their thing. And it's very cool that you can do that. And this plane and doing, like, these kind of operations are very cool. Now, obviously, one thing you can do in Sayintentions that you can't do in VATSIM is actually simulate emergencies. Now, they definitely do not want you doing any type of illegal emergency, obviously. In their systems, you actually have to agree to that. You can't do anything like bomb threats or hijacking or anything like that. That's strictly forbidden, as well as it is in VATSIM, as well as being vulgar to the AI, which could cause a suspension. So no saying bad words or bad things to the AIs, and they do have monitors on. Now, one thing you could test, though, is actual maydays in engine failures. Now, you can't really do that. It's kind of okay in VATSIM, but it's also frowned upon because of the effect of traffic. But sometimes if you are in a kind of quieter place, they'll let you do an emergency and simulate engine failure. But sometimes if it's bigger, they'll just ask you to disconnect. But here in Sayintentions, if you have an engine failure, you can ask them, Mayday, 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 and they'll do all the procedures no matter how busy it is in the airport. Now, that's very nice if you are trying to simulate these things or doing different things like this. So that's a very nice feature of it, of course. Obviously, again, a lot of it is that you're not tied down to rules as hard as you normally are. Like VATSIM, you can get very, very bad consequences for messing up a transmission or trying to simulate something you're not supposed to. But in Sayintentions, it really does take off that weight of like, oh shoot, I might get in trouble for not being the best at radio calls. So it's very nice to learn things here in the game, just to see these different types of things. So that's pretty much the rest of the video here, as what I have said, pretty much the view. And I know I have not flown any planes in this video, kind of rare for us, but I kind of just wanted to sum up all of the events, and I might do something in the future with Sayintentions, with an actual IFR flight. So could definitely be a possibility, as well as different types of things. This was more of a review of Sayintentions.ai, and I would give it probably a good 4.5 stars out of 5 because of how good, I mean, it is very realistic simulations, but the bugs and obviously the beta being a little more testing at the point. But I do think it definitely has a future in the flight simming aviation world where it can get better and AI improves to get to the point where this might be one of the higher things in the future where we have it for flight simulators. Now, that is pretty much it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you want to see Sayintentions or test out Sayintentions, I'll have the link to the website in the description if you'd like to check them out. Now, this video was not sponsored, obviously, because of what I have kind of critiqued. So I'm not being paid to say any of these things of being nice or kind of overly fake or critical. I really just, this is the honest opinion from someone who knows flight simming and kind of know a little bit of aviation and air traffic control and who has tried VATSIM before. Now, thank you guys so much for watching this video, and thank you guys so much for watching. Have a great day.